When it comes to self-defense, many people picture things like this: martial arts classes, pugilism such as boxing, Muay Thai, and other systems of fighting like judo or jiu-jitsu. And quite honestly, while some of these arts have some physical abilities that are transferable to the physical act of defending yourself or the physical act of countering violence, this is a very small part of what self-defense is. Self-defense is much more than that. It is first and foremost a legal term by which your violence or your use of force will be judged to be either a legal use of force or a violent act for which you may face legal consequences. Training for self-defense means much more than training physical fighting skills. Training for self-defense is all-encompassing. It is a lifestyle. And if you are in a school that teaches self-defense per se, you may notice that a lot of what you're doing should look more like a classroom, a college classroom, than a dojo or a boxing gym. A self-defense course has to be all-encompassing. It has to include tactics and statistics, and you have to understand things like the timeline of self-defense. Self-defense training teaches what to do before, during, and after an event. Fight training is only during the event. The physical act of fighting is only a small portion, a small fraction of what is self-defense. There is so much more to this. The physical act of fighting only happens if your other skills fail you or you were completely caught off guard by just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But let's take a look at what should be offered in a real self-defense course. First and foremost, self-defense is goal-oriented, and that goal is personal safety. It is not to overcome somebody. It's not to be physical with somebody. It's not to beat somebody up. It is to get to safety. And if you have to get physical to do that, you have to have the best skills available to get yourself away from the incident safely. Or the safety that we are talking about may be extended to those who are in your care. In that case, your goal may be to allow your loved ones to escape while you take care of the problem, or at least buy them time to get to safety. Spotting trouble before it happens and acting accordingly are a major part of self-defense. Pre-incident skills include understanding observation, understanding the color codes created by gun guru Jeff Cooper many years ago, to understand how to avoid and escape a situation before it even happens, to look at your environment and find things in your environment to aid you if you need to. Pre-incident training should include things like understanding the criminal culture of the area that you live in, understanding our own boundaries and how to assert them, understanding how to de-escalate a situation, role-playing how to de-escalate situations, and understanding what the pre-violent cues are from another human being, and training a mindset of acting rather than reacting to a situation. Self-defense includes training to use and act on your observations and intuition. Learning to act rather than react on our observations and our intuition is important, because to do otherwise is to take a strategy of trying to play catch up to those who would do us harm. There are many great books on this subject out there. This acting upon your observation and intuition must be filtered through the proper use of force in the country and culture you are in. If your self-defense course does not talk about use of force models and things like this, it is not really a self-defense course, and it is not preparing you to defend yourself in court after defending yourself on the street. If your self-defense course does not have these things in it, it is not self-defense you are taking, it is a martial art. You have to understand that pre-incident skills are not perfect, and even if you do everything right, you may be forced into a situation where you have to defend yourself. And this is where martial arts and combatives come in. You really need to understand what the difference is between a martial art and a combative system. Now, when it comes to martial arts, there are some that are better than others. Many will say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the best art for self-defense, but for one-to-one combat, being a good BJJ practitioner is a very awesome skill, and it can really be almost magical the way a good BJJ fighter can control somebody. But that's not self-defense. That is fighting. And when you involve knives, multiple attackers, and a lot of other weapons, most BJJ is actually lacking for self-defense. It is a very good fighting system. It is good for what it does. It is actually excellent for what it does. But there is much more that should be trained if you're going to train for self-defense. Your base art should be something that includes a lot of clinch work, because even though the old accepted statistic of all fights go to the ground, or 90% of fights go to the ground, is absolutely untrue. And when I hear people say this, I realize they haven't really done any deep research on violence statistics. In modern fight statistics based on real criminal violence, it is 60% clinch work that you need to be able to do. The other 40% is a mix of other types of violence, including striking and ground fighting. So your skills need to be very well rounded. However, clinching must be primary. Arts like judo, Muay Thai, Silat, even Japanese Jiu-Jitsu have a better skill set for real violence. The one thing that I want to stress is I absolutely love BJJ and other grappling systems, and I think it's really important that people learn to wrestle on the ground. So I'm not detracting from it. But if you want a good base for self-defense, arts such as Muay Thai are probably a way better base to have. But if you're training for self-defense, a good combative system is probably much better. It is simpler, more aggressive, and requires less training, because anything that requires a lot of work is likely going to fail you under pressure when you're truly adrenalized. So a lot of martial arts, while they do work and you can be hardwired to use them quite well, karate is a prime example of a great system for defeating aggressive attackers. Good karate is also an excellent system for countering real violence. It is no joke. It is a great system for self-defense. However, a combative system can get you physically capable in a lot less time. But not many people want to train combatives. It is hard work and it is so repetitive. And often the techniques taught are actually quite shocking to most normal people. This is one of the reasons a good martial art is probably better for most people to train for the physical part of self-defense, because it is social, it is fun, it is socially acceptable. But just understand, things like pugilism, boxing, Muay Thai, kickboxing, full contact kickboxing that is, and wrestling, not necessarily BJJ, but good old college wrestling, good old catch wrestling, are probably the best systems to train to be an effective fighter in a shorter period of time. Combatives training will shorten that period. It'll be quicker and dirtier and nastier, and a lot of people do not have the mindset to train that kind of stuff. Those that do are very special indeed, and they're part of my inner circle, because I love people who will train that stuff. I train it daily. It is never repetitive for me. Now, when we talk about our timeline of self-defense, we had pre-incident, incident, and now post-incident. After the fight is over, if your self-defense course doesn't talk about things like first aid, giving yourself first aid first, doing a full body check for bleeding, People are often stabbed multiple times and don't even know they got stabbed. This is why when you found safety, the first thing you do is a full body check to make sure you're not bleeding. There are many people who have bled out because they didn't check themselves, or they were drunk and didn't notice that they'd gotten stabbed and then just passed out or went to bed. These are things that people don't talk about in martial arts classes but do in self-defense courses. The other thing is, how do you report? Who do you report to? How do you word your report of the incident in a way that doesn't incriminate you legally? If you are looking for a self-defense course, if you are looking to learn self-defense, understand that this is a much broader skill set than simple martial arts. And while martial arts is a lot of fun, self-defense requires homework, requires research, requires a mind that is willing to learn outside of just the physical part of self-defense, which is only a very small fraction of what self-defense is. Keep in mind, though, that very few self-defense instructors are actual lawyers. So any advice you get on use of force, on local law, should be filtered through a knowledgeable legal professional. If you like content like this, please support my Patreon. You'll find lessons on martial arts and combatives there. Thank you very much. Have a great day.